Good morning. Good morning. Welcome to the Seed Giver podcast. My name is Warren and I am your host. Today is Wednesday, September the 2nd. Um, it is a gorgeous day out today, not too hot. I feel autumn is in the air, my favorite time of the year. I'm just waiting for those temperatures to get below 70, 75 degrees. I love it that year. Well, as you can see from the title, today is Wednesday's Wisdom. We're going to be talking about the wisdom of knowing when to speak and when to stay silent. So, to get in it, we're going to talk about a couple of topics. One is the art of choosing the right moment to speak up and when to remain quiet. I've learned um, over my now 58 years here on this earth that I am what you would call a people watcher, not in a creepy sense, but I look back, I sit back and I observe. I watch people, I watch how they interact, I watch what they say, I watch what they do. And I am a firm believer that it's all about what a person does. A person can tell you something and I really don't believe it. I always watch their actions, and I've just been taught that from a very young age. Is that um, you never really believe what a person says because their actions will always give the true intent and demean of what a person is actually doing. But a lot of times, even in a crowd or in a room or in a classroom, I was always one of the ones that kind of stayed quiet. You learn a lot of things when you're quiet. I used to work for this very large utility company some years ago, and at that time I used to smoke. So they had a little cube out in the off the parking deck called smoking room. So you go in there, smoke, read paper, and sit around and chit chat. And a lot of the top level or C level CEOs and CIOs and all that kind of, top leadership would come in there. And I would go in there, smoke my cigarette, and read the newspaper. After about 2 or 3 weeks, because I never did really say anything, I wasn't rude. I'd acknowledge you, my, good morning, good evening, whatever it might be. But, I never tried to engage them in conversation. But as time went on, it was almost like I was a fixture there. They didn't really acknowledge me or whatever, which was fine. But I learned so much from the conversations that they would have. I remember this one in particular. This young lady came in and they asked her, well, we'll just call her Sue. Hey, Sue, I hear, Jenny's going to be graduating soon. Where's she planning on going? And she says, well, she wanted to go to Alabama, but, her scores weren't, all that great or whatever. And he was like, well, hey, Bob up there in accounting, he's on their board. Have you talked to him? Okay. So fast forward about 3, 4 weeks later in there, she comes in there and he's like, well, hey, how's Jenny doing? Or whatever name I gave her earlier. So how's she doing? Oh, yeah. We just took her down there to get settled in Alabama and blah, 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 blah. It's how the world works. I gained a lot of knowledge in that, saying, "Hey, it's not so much as what you know, it's who you know." And I gained all that by just being quiet. Now, had I been, I'm not saying that it would or would not, but if I was one of those people that was all in the conversations and whatever, they might not have had openly divulged that, hey, old Bob up there in accounting is on the thing and he can pencil whip this thing for you to get your daughter in there. Now, I'm not saying that's right or wrong. I'm just saying, choosing the right moments to speak. A lot of times you get more information by listening. There's an old adage that said God gave you one mouth and two ears, which means you're supposed to listen more than you are to speak. And I just found out through my life, I let people talk because a lot of times if you just minimize your words, people will tell you exactly how they feel. Oftentimes, they'll tell you a lot more than they intend to, just by letting you speak. I found it easier to understand someone than to be understood. I'll say that again. It's easier to understand someone than to be understood. And if you still don't get it, that means that quit trying to project yourself, get your point across. Listen, just listen to what people have to say. I've had some theories that I thought were correct, some beliefs that I believed in, and had I tried to argue my point at the time, I wouldn't have got the revelation and new knowledge that changed my mind. Also have to be open to new ideas and new concepts. Not saying that you have to agree with everything, but sometimes it makes sense. Some things you may have been wrong about, but you wouldn't know that if you're constantly talking, trying to get your point across, trying to prove yourself, when sometimes you learn more just by listening. Sometimes people just need to vent. I've had several people come to me, people I couldn't tell you the times, I used to catch the bus some years ago when I didn't have a vehicle. And I remember on several occasions, people would just, this one guy, obviously he was an executive of some sort. I'm standing there, waiting. He's walking down the street, and where the bus was, it was a corner there. So he was waiting to cross the street, and he just start telling me about his life and how things are going wrong, and he was just he just needed someone to talk to. But had I been the one that be like, hey, well, I don't want to have time for this, but it changed his whole demeanor, and then he just needed someone to listen to him. So that's another thing. Also, I found out that wise people often say less, but they mean more. A lot of people have the misconception that the more you talk is the more you know and makes you smarter or whatever. But if you look at any intelligent, wise, shrewd person, they don't have to say a lot. They just sit back, in one of these postures and observe. And that's how you learn. You have to gather information. This is an information age. And if you don't get all the information, how are you going to make a sound decision or give a response if you hadn't listened to the whole thing? And always be open to different concepts, different definitions of things. You have what you call, and I'm going back to my high school English days, you have connotation and you have denotation. Denotation is the definition of something, but the connotation is the context in which that thing is presented. So just be open to listening. Try listening more. Gathering information, and be willing to accept new ideas. Be willing to accept the fact that, hey, my thoughts on this thing, could be wrong. Times change, people change. So don't ever just disregard what someone says or disregard the information, but be willing to listen. And with that, um, it can make you wiser in other things, and that's wisdom. And with that comes maturity as well. I should have started off with that. It it takes a mature person to be able to do these things. And just because you're mature doesn't also mean you're wise. You got a lot of wise young people as well. So don't get it twisted. But that's all I have for today. Just wanted to share a couple of words with you. Hopefully, it helps you, encourages you on this Wednesday. We're at Hump Day, so we will see you on the next one. You guys have a good and wonderful rest of your Wednesday. God loves you. I do too. And there's nothing you can do about it. Have a good one.